So it is lesson 10, part 3. We're still working on kind of getting our Stripe payment. We're almost there. But when we follow the documentation, it doesn't really give us what we want. So we're actually going to make a couple changes in here. I'm going to go back to my create checkout session. So we're going to make a few changes here. Let's see, I'm going to get rid of those parameters. We'll just keep our description. Actually, sorry. What do we want? New session line item options. Okay, we're going to change what's in here. So everything in this session line item options, we're going to rewrite this. We're going to set up the price data property instead, with the most ridiculous class name you've ever seen: session line item price data product data options. We're going to use this class. We'll try this. Oh, sorry, wrong class. Session line item price data options. This class. Not quite as bad. So we're going to pass in cents as a double the total of the order. Now we can set the currency, the Canadian dollars. Then we'll set our product data. This is where we get to use the ridiculous class name. Okay, I think this should fix it, but we have a cast error. Our unit amount is a long integer. So it's basically a long integer is the same as a regular integer, but it holds twice as large of a number. So it wants us to explicitly cast our double to an integer. So I'll just accept that little change. I'm going to try the payment again now, and I'm optimistic it will work. I'll just throw this whole thing in the chat, because most of this we just copied from Stripe anyway. I think it got cut off at the very bottom. So we'll set the price data. So we're passing the amount of the charge, we're passing the currency. And for our product, we're just going to have one product. We'll just call it Global Grub Purchase. I'm going to try this again now. So for about the 100th time, one of these times it might actually work. Aha, okay. So it shows the name of our store and that we're in test mode. It's got the name of our product and our amount. Yeah, so Attila, you may not have created the account in the Stripe dashboard. right? Because it's trying to render the store name here, the account name. So in the Stripe dashboard, you've got to click New Account. There should be an account name here. And it shows up in our checkout page. Now, Stripe also provides us a bunch of testing credit card numbers that we can use. If I scroll down in the docs to testing, it's got basic test cards. So if you want to test with a MasterCard, here you go. You want to test with a Visa, here's a card number. So we can use any card verification code and any expiry month and year, so long as they're not in the past. So maybe I'll copy this MasterCard. So it's 12 5s and 4 4s. I'll copy that. I'll put in my email. So it automatically registers that as a MasterCard. Notice if I put in this number, it says that number is not valid. You can put in any expiry, any name, any postal code, really. And when I click pay, it now brings me back. It redirects to our save order page. So our payment should have worked. If we want to check it, we can actually go in the Stripe dashboard to payments. And here's my $162.95 payment for customer at gc.ca today at 1:11. It does a fraud risk score. Got my customer info. This is the fee that Stripe would take. So the owner of the store would get this net. Okay, it's got a risk profile, etc. Logs my IP address as well. So we can see the payment actually worked. So our challenge now is I'm here on save order. So now that they've paid, now we need to save the order to the database. And we want to clear out the user's cart and show an order confirmation page. There's one other little small housekeeping item I want to take care of, which is this. Every time I restart my app, when I go to my cart, oh, it actually kept it this time. All right, never mind. It's okay for now. So now we want to write the save order method. So after the user pays successfully on Stripe, sorry, Juliet, does it wipe it out for you each time you restart, or it keeps it? Okay, all right. I was having a problem earlier, but I'll leave it. So now we want to go and write, we need to build the save order method. So once, yeah, Alex, that's what mine was doing. Okay, let's fix that. Actually, I'll just comment this out for the moment. Hang on. We do need to fix that. The problem is in our cart method. The problem is every time we start the server again, right, in cart, we're just trying to read the session variable. But every time we restart the server, that session variable gets destroyed. So instead of reading from the session, we should be calling our get user ID method each time. That way, if the user's logged in, it will grab the cart with their email address. So in the cart method, I'm going to change that to run that algorithm each time.
Professor, I have a question about this method actually. In mine, I'm gonna need to use it in multiple controllers. So is there any practical way instead of just copy and pasting the get user ID to each controller?
I think you could probably put it in a separate class, like a static class, much like we've got here. You could create a static class, and you could try moving the method there. Yep, that's right, Nay. It does do that. Yeah, kind of similar. Okay, so if I try now, right now my cart is persists. So now I could also put an item. So let's say I put more avocados in. Before I was getting an error. Now I had 3 avocados. I add 2 more. Now it just updates. Because the user might go to the cart. So that little fix in the shop controller. So let's call our get user ID instead. So yeah, for Parois, and now that should fix it. All right, so let's come back here. So we need to do a bunch of things in here. What are the steps? What should happen now that the user is paid successfully? Stripe has sent them back here. What are all the things? There's probably about 4 or 5 things we need to do inside of our save order method. Right, so we're going to save order to DB. Yep, what else are we going to do? What else should happen at the end of the checkout process? Okay, yeah, at the end, we'll redirect to order details page. Yep, that'll be at the end. Yeah, we want to clear the cart. So if the user clicks cart, it will show that their cart is empty. Yulia, let's think about that. That would actually, I think, have to happen here where we still have the payment session active. I'm going to leave that for now, but we may be able to grab the payment code out of here and attach it to that order and resave the order. I'm not sure we'll have time to do that. We're also going to have to save the order details, right? Because the order, that main order object, it just has the customer info and the total, but it doesn't have the items. So we're going to have to save each item in the cart to an order detail and then clear the cart. So first we will grab the order from the session. We're going to call get object again. We're going to cast it as our own order. And now we can save it to the DB. And one of the neat things about using the DB sets is when we create our order, the order ID is going to be 0. Once we call save changes, this object is going to be updated. We can actually see this with the debugger. We'll try it. And the order ID will automatically get updated from the database as soon as we call save changes. We don't have to run a separate query to go and fetch the order ID. And we need that order ID in terms of saving the order items. right? Because that's going to be a foreign key value. Actually, I guess we can just get it here. So we're going to fetch the items from the cart. And then we're basically going to copy each cart item to an order item. Oops, sorry, let's go and look. I need to check on my order item class. Yeah, we got product ID, price, quantity. Aha, again, same problem. Notice when I type product ID, it doesn't recognize it because our class name is ambiguous. So this has got to be models.orderItem. Now when I type product ID, it recognizes the property. So again, we're going to copy the product ID, the quantity, and the price. And we're copying the primary key value from our order. It's now the foreign key value. And we're going to add each one of these to our order items DB set. We haven't saved to the database yet. We're going to populate our list of order items first, and then we can save all of them to the database in one transaction. So we just call save changes. So this saves the order. Calling save changes again, this will now save the order items. We can then loop through these again and remove all of the cart items and call save changes again. We can actually try this out now. I guess we need a return statement. So in this case, we will redirect to a method called details. We can actually use scaffolding to build that. The controller will be called orders. And we're going to pass it an ID. So show the details for the new order when this is all done. I guess while we're at it, we can write the code to clear the cart. So we're going to use this same loop. So we're looping through the cart items twice. The first time so that we can map. Second time, now calling save changes in a loop is not advisable. No, we're going to get a concurrency error. Also, every time you call save changes, it makes a call to the database and runs a transaction. So for performance, we're better to send that entire list of inserts once. But if you try it inside the loop, I'll try it, you'll see. You can try it in yours, you're going to get a database concurrency error if you try and call save changes within a loop. So you should process the DB set items in the loop, but commit to the database once. Excellent question. Feel free to try it, but I think you'll get an error. if you try to save changes inside the loop. So now we can remove each item. And then again, we'll commit those changes to the DB outside the loop to avoid that database concurrency error. I'll actually push all this code to GitHub right now. I think it's my 4th commit. So if this code is correct, we'll get taken to order details with an ID, and we'll get a blank screen right now. That's the goal. So save to the database, save the order items, clear out the cart, and redirect. I'm actually going to run this with my debugger on so we can also see how this primary key for the order, how it gets populated. So I'm going to run through my whole shop process again. I'm going to start debugging this time. You don't have to use your debugger. Go to my cart. Just still here. I'll remove some things here. Nice simple order. I'll check out. Click pay. Next. Got a nice $6.98 order. Put in the test MasterCard. Maybe I'll put in the college email address. Postal code. It should then map it in the Stripe dashboard. I'll pay. So now it takes me into my debugger. So let's see, my order's null. I read it out of the session. Now I've got an order object. Notice my order ID is 0 because we haven't saved it to the database yet. After line 230, after I save the changes, I go back and look at my order again. Order ID is automatically updated from 0 to 1. Cool. Now I'll fetch my cart items, and I can go through. I'll just continue on. Okay, so now it takes me to order details, order ID 1. Awesome. Let's go look in the database and check out what's in the order table, what's in the order details table. So if I query my orders table, I've now got an order with the right total, right date, no payment code. We may not have time to deal with that. And then in order items, I've got 2 items, right? The 2 things I bought with my foreign key. Both of these belong on order ID 1. Cool. If I go back to my cart now, let's just go back here. Now my cart's empty as well. So it deleted all of the records attached to my email address in the cart items table. So that's what we wanted it to do. So now we can scaffold an orders controller. We don't really need the create, the edit, and the delete, but we want the index and we want the details. And then we can customize them a little bit. So I'm going to right-click my controllers and add a new controller. And we want a controller with views using Entity Framework. Only thing we have to do in this little pop-up window is pick our model class as order. Everything else we can leave. It'll even name the controller orders controller for us. Let's click add. We'll build my solution. Start it again. So now I should just be able to go to /orders. And we've now got a kind of messy, but we've got a order history. I can go to order details. So if I make another order, at the end of the whole process, it should take me straight to this page, which we're going to fix up, but I'll try it again. So I'm going to go to cart. Buy some seafood. I'll check out again. Pay on Stripe. And now it takes me straight to, here's my receipt. It's not perfect, but it's a start. If I go back to my list, cool. I can see both my orders. Second order, first order. Now we do need to make some changes here. Right? The order number should show up. Total should be currency. We'll want to remove edit, and we also want to show the order items. So similar to how they displayed in the cart, they should display here so I can see when I look at this order, what did I buy? We also need to add security to this as well. So let's start with this view. We'll also need to clean up this one as well. Kind of messy. So let's go. Got a lot of stuff open here. Close a bunch of stuff we don't need. Okay. So let's start in the, now we've got an orders, under views, we've got orders and details. Change the heading to say order details. And here actually, maybe I'll just change this to say order number. So let's put the order number in the heading at the top. I think, Scott, you mentioned that earlier, right? People need to be able to see the order number in case maybe there's something wrong with it. They didn't get their shipment. So now we go to view. It's got our order number right here. Yep, we're absolutely going to remove the edit option. We can leave most of this stuff. I'm going to take out the payment code for now. So down here, the last DT and DD, we'll get rid of those. We're definitely going to get rid of the edit as well. We'll format the price as currency. So here I'm going to change this. Just be string.format. So that'll format as currency. And then down at the bottom, we want to show the actual order items. So before our back to list down here, we can put it maybe another div. Let's put on maybe an H2. So we'll create a table. So we can show the product, quantity, the price. And then we can use a loop inside the T body to display all the items that I bought. So we're going to loop through the child data here. We'll create a new row. We'll show the quantity in the second column, and we'll show the price last. So now when someone's looking at their receipt, they can see exactly what they bought and the price, how many, and what the price of each one was. They'll save that. And now we get this. Order items, object not set. So when we're fetching the order object, it doesn't automatically grab the child data here. Yes, you could add a download button if you want. We've still got a fair bit of things to finish with this, so I don't think we will have time, but by all means, Ned, cool suggestion. So we need to modify our query in the details method of the orders controller to include the child data, because it's not here by default. So let's go to the orders controller. Details method should start on line 29. Here's our query. So we need to include the child data, and we also need to include the parent data of the order items. because we need to show the order item, price, and quantity. And then we need to show the product names. So we're basically doing two joins here. Orders joining to the child object, and then the child object order items joining to its parent object. Now we get our details page. So we formatted as currency. We're showing the order number and the products. Cool. We need a little bit of security here. Yep. So we need to make this private, but then we also need to filter it. Because not only is it public, but even once we make it private, it makes all of the orders available. So we need a bit of logic to prevent that. Yulia, let me know when you're done. Please. Okay. So first of all, let's go to the orders controller, and at the class level, let's add the authorize annotation. You should not be able to see any orders if you are not logged in. This will require our usual reference to the authorization library. Okay. However, I'm logged in here in Firefox. Go to Chrome. I'm going to log in with my Google account. Maybe I'll go and shop as a Chrome user. So I'm going to make another order with my Google account. So now I'll have users made by two different orders made by two different customers. In this case, I'm going to use the test Visa card, which is alternating 42s. Whoops. I'll use my Google email address. Okay, so I'm going to use a different credit card, different user account. So now I've got an order here. Problem is, my list, it now shows everybody. So we need to filter both on index as well as on details. Absolutely, an administrator should see all the orders, but customers should only see their own. So we're going to need filters in both the index and details methods. And then we can do a few little cleanup items here. And then we can add an orders link here as well. So when we're logged in, we can get a list of orders. So let's start on the details method first. So if we find an order, we want to check user is administrator or the owner of this order. So we'll say if not user dot is in role administrator. We can say if order dot user ID does not equal our user dot identity dot name, we're going to redirect them. So they're just going to go back to the list of orders. So if I click details beside an order that's not mine, or I change the ID number in the URL, I'm just going to get redirected. So now in Chrome, if I click details beside one of these orders, just brings me back here. If I click details beside my own order, that's fine. I get the order details. If I'm an administrator, I can see anybody's order. We also want to add that filter to the index. I shouldn't even be able to see these other two orders. So I'm going to add a different check. Yep, that works as well, Attila. Thank you. That's probably more efficient. I like that. I'm just going to copy that. We can take out. Thanks, Attila. I've got a bracket problem. So if our user is not an administrator and, oops, just missing a curly bracket. Thank you. Thanks, Nan. Okay, so let's go up to the index, and now we need some logic here. Right now, this just gets all the orders. So say if our user is an administrator, then return all the orders. Otherwise, our query's got to be a little bit different. Where in this case, we want to filter, and this has got to be so if the user is not an administrator, we only should be selecting their orders and nobody else's. And then we will return the view and pass it the orders. So now I'm signed in as two different users in two different browsers. I should get two orders in Firefox, and I should get one order, a different order in Chrome. Okay, so as a customer in Firefox, I can go to orders. Now I only see 1 and 2. In Chrome, same thing. I only see my own. And I've also checked, so if I try to change my order ID here, just bounces me back here. Okay, two very minor things we're going to clear up here as well. Well, the other thing we can do, Alex, I mean, normally, no, we let the database assign them. we don't have to start with 1. We can change the identity seed. You can also encrypt and decrypt those numbers. That's also possible. But I don't have time to do the encryption, but at least our security check, we have the check here. So if someone messes with the number, we're verifying that that user is the owner. So for our purposes, that'll be good enough for now. So we have a few minutes left. I want to add a link to the nav in the nav bar that when someone logs in, they get a link to the orders. Because right now there's no way to get to this page. And then we'll just do a couple of small cleanup items on the order index. Because it's kind of, the page is messy. We want to get rid of the create, the edit, and the delete. In fact, in the controller, I'll actually get rid of these methods. We don't create orders this way. You have to go through our shop. So I can get rid of the methods. Doesn't really matter if they're there, but we don't need them. I'm deleting the create, edit, and delete methods because we're not going to use them. You don't have to. I'm just going to do it in mine. And I'm going to get rid of the views for create, delete, and edit your orders. I only want index and details. You don't have to delete them. But they're functional, so if we're not going to use them, I think better to get rid of them. So I've only got index and details as my methods and views for orders. We're going to clean up the orders index quickly and add a link in the nav bar. This will just say order history in the page. Whoops. And I'm going to get rid of the links to create. I'm going to get rid of the edit link and the delete link. I'm also going to remove maybe the payment code. And I'll just remove some of this stuff so our table's a little more readable. I'll just make city my last column. You can reformat this any way you want. So you're going to get rid of province, postal code, phone, and payment code. So I've got 7 columns. So now it looks a little better. If I want to see the address, I can just go in, see the full thing. And then I just want to add an orders link here that's visible when somebody logs into the site. So this will be the final thing we will do. In the layout, beside my shop link, say if our user.identity is authenticated. We'll add a link here. Our controller will be orders. So once somebody logs into the site, they have a link that they can see their order history. Or if they're an administrator, they can see the store's order history for all customers. I'll try this as an administrator as well. I know I'm going a little bit quickly. Trying not to keep you here. We've done a lot today. So now as a customer, if I log out, my orders link disappears. If I log back in, my link comes back, and now I see my own orders only. Chrome, I see my own orders. As the administrator, I should see everything. So I can see anybody's order if I'm logged in with an admin account. So our work in our store in our cart's pretty much done. I know there are a lot of other things we could do. We obviously only have so much time. We didn't get to put a little icon here with the number of items in the cart. We didn't get to update the cart. It's not perfect. I wouldn't recommend, you could, but normally we don't delete orders because especially then there's no record of it. You know, if we've taken a payment from somebody, and then we've gotten rid of the order, then it would be better to keep it. You might archive it, but I wouldn't delete it. So technically you could, but for business purposes, you probably don't want to do that. So I should say orders complete. Okay, I know I've asked you to do a lot. I will upload the videos to YouTube. All the code is on GitHub. No homework, no quiz this week. Take a break. Relax. We will start into unit testing with .NET next week, and we'll go over assignment 4 at the start of class. Okay. I've already started marking. Actually, I finished marking assignment 3 already. Okay, so that is all.